Pisces rising, what are the most challenging and favorable periods of 2025? I'm Sukboy, you're awesome. This is your year ahead. Let's talk about it. Astrology acknowledges you are not a stereotypical human being. So although you share Pisces rising with however many people that have Pisces rising, that doesn't mean that you're not your own individual. Now, to look for more nuance, to look for more insight, drop some knowledge. Let me know what sign is Neptune, your modern day ruler, and Jupiter, your traditional ruler in your natal or birth chart. So with that in mind, this is a very general overview. Now, these are the key dates for your year ahead. Take a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Let's break it down. The first transit I'm going to talk about is Mars retrograde. Now, Mars around late December 2024 and the first 2 weeks of January was in your 6th house of health, and it was forming a pretty difficult aspect called an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this would have put some strain on the physical and mental health axis, let's say. And so there could have been some frustration in areas of the health, definitely in areas of any work colleagues or people that you see on a day-to-day basis. There would have been a depletion of energy potentially in this area, or fluctuating energy, and just not having that mobility or that sovereignty that you normally have over your own health and how you're feeling in your body. Since then, Mars has actually retrograded back into Cancer in your 5th house. Now, 5th house rules children, your self-expression, your creativity, how you show up when you want to create things, also your love affairs. Now, in the sign of Cancer, Mars doesn't operate very well. It can be quite broody, and it could mean that underneath it all, there is some passive aggression or underlying anger or even rage when it comes to how you express yourself. You must feel somewhat limited in this area. Now, this can actually manifest in some passive aggression in the home, some disruption in the home, or confrontation in the home, because after all, we are talking about Cancer, and Cancer rules the home. But overall, it's about the concept or relationship you have with children as well, and your overall creativity. Now, this is going to be in Cancer. Mars retrograde in Cancer until probably April. It doesn't actually leave this whole situation up into the 6th house again of Leo until May 14, when it leaves its shadow period, as in it starts going direct again. It finishes its retrograde. But till then, just be very careful of how you're showing up and what you want to create, and try to put energy into what you really want to do and have some kind of outlet for any excess frustration in this time. Now, this Mars retrograde is quite an event. It has included a lot of oppositions with Pluto, and we get the final opposition with Pluto late April for you. And this is again happening in this 6th house. So you may have to revisit some health issues or some frustrations with work colleagues. Not feeling acknowledged or not feeling embodied. Your sense of vitality might fluctuate in this time. So it's something to kind of look out for. Make sure you're on top of your health, you're paying attention to it, you're not ignoring it in any way, shape, or form. And obviously, Pluto in your 12th house could mean there's some deep transformations with your own psychology, and also your relationship with your community and your allies and broader social network. These are all going to be transforming as Pluto transits the sign of Aquarius in your 12th house. Now, the good news is around June, Jupiter will enter this 5th house of Cancer, and any kind of confrontation that Mars may have kind of brought up could actually start to come to a resolve, and things could be feeling a lot better. While Mars is in the 5th house, it actually could have formed some oppositions to your 11th house of friendship. So you could feel quite isolated or very insular and not been very social in this time potentially. And when Jupiter kind of comes back into this area in June, you may feel a bit more self-expression, a bit more confident, a bit more nonchalant and unbothered. And with any luck, any issues within the home will become a lot more gentle and, let's say, emotionally safe. There will be an emotional security in this time. Now, this is a favorable time when Jupiter enters your 5th house for creating things and your relationship with children, if you have any. This is actually fantastic. Now, this starts in June 2025 and will go all the way through till June 2026. In June 2026, roughly speaking, Jupiter will enter that 6th house and you will feel the benefits of your health. So if you've been struggling with your health by 2026, I know that's a while away, things will actually start to feel a lot more vital. You'll be taking the lead in what you do every day, who you spend your time with, how you spend the hours in your day, and your general vitality and energy levels will be becoming a lot more abundant, or at least consistent, to say the least. Now let's rewind back to late March when we get our final eclipse in the axis of finance for you, which is Aries and Libra, the self and the other, the financial independence and the shared assets. Now, over the last year and a half, there could have been some major beginnings and major endings in this area of finances. And it could have had to do with you making money from different areas, discovering financial freedom, but also realizing that your financial freedom or independence is actually linked quite tightly with someone else's money. This could be a mortgage, a debt, a bank, insurance, a partner, I'm not sure. But your financial decisions impact them and vice versa. And there would have been major new beginnings and endings in things like your self-worth, and what you consider valuable. This second house is about your material possessions, so there could have been some shifts or transformations, new beginnings and new endings about what exactly you own in this time. Now, this will be a resolve. This is the last time we'll have these eclipses occur in this area of the chart. And from there on, we'll actually get eclipses in new areas, which is Pisces, your rising sign, the first house, and the seventh house of the other, but I'll get to that. Now, around late May through to June, you're actually going to have a conjunction between Saturn and Neptune enter your second house of Aries. Again, this is the financial access, your own financial independence, your own self-worth, your value set, your ethical code versus your shared resources, your intimacy, loans, assets that you have from banks and other people's money, basically. Now, this will be quite interesting, and it will actually give you some restrictions in your finances. Hopefully not, but it could look like a restructuring of your financial independence and your self-worth in this time. Now, it's important to recognize when Saturn is in the second house or wherever it is, it usually brings delays. So if you're looking for financial independence, there may be delays to that. If you're looking for different income streams, in any regard, you may find yourself restructuring, reforming how you make your money. Now, this is also coupled with a conjunction with Neptune, which oscillates on two different frequencies. It can be escapism and idealism, sometimes escapism to alcohol or substance abuse, so don't do that. In a higher frequency, it actually has compassion and is really quite creative in areas of the second house for you, Pisces rising. Because it's in Aries, it will be very passionate or idealistic or ideological about your own value set, your own self-worth. It's a very creative time, and applying that creativity to how you're making your money will be favorable. But all the same, it will be coupled with Saturn asking you to ground yourself and be extremely realistic at the same time. You're kind of straddling between fantasy and reality and your own passions and desires, and how you go about getting what you desire and getting what you want in terms of what you value. It's really important to ground yourself in this time and not be too critical and not be too idealistic. Actually paying attention to the details is really important, and formulating some kind of long-term plan as to how you will remain financially independent or what you are going to do with your investments. And indeed, if it is causing any hassle or disruption due to oppositions in the 8th house of your shared assets, having some kind of agreement or negotiation in place with that party, whether it be a bank or mortgage, debt, partner, I'm not sure. It's very important to be highly realistic and pay attention to the details. And if you are obligated to service debts or loan people money in this time, it's really important to not go into those conversations with any kind of rose-colored glasses. Neptune can really confuse the situation if you are not careful. Another symptom of Saturn in this area of the chart is a lot of impatience. So it's important to be patient. And if you're not making money in this time, or if there is restriction to you making money in this time and you really want to make money, just be patient. Just lay down the foundations. Saturn's not going to be in there forever, and it just wants you to work very hard and be responsible for yourself at the end of the day. But it does cause restrictions and a lot of pessimism in this time. So don't allow it to bring you down. Neptune will always confuse the situation wherever it is in the chart, generally speaking, or it will ask you to escape it. You have to forgive yourself and move through this, accept the situation for what it is if you can. Now, leading up to this May period of some confusing restructuring of your value set and your finances potentially, we actually have Venus in this pretty long-winded retrograde going from your first house of Pisces into your second house and back into your first house. Now, this all wraps up around April, but it kind of daisy chains into this Saturn-Neptune period. While it's in Pisces, while Venus retrogrades in Pisces, this is gorgeous, and this is about dissolving boundaries between you and your partner, you and yourself. This is a time for spiritual growth and basically moving through and letting go any old baggage that might be holding you back when it comes to your value set and your code of ethics. Now, as I'm recording this in January, Venus is in your first house, and this is beautiful for falling in love. This is a hopeless romantic, and it can be quite gullible, and it can fail to see the red flags in a relationship purely because it's really trying to dissolve the boundaries between you and the other. Even within your mind, it is quite a pleasant place to live while Venus is in this first house, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, there will be a shifting of the eclipses into your first house of self and your seventh house of partnerships. So these areas could have major beginnings and major endings. How you show up in any given moment, your identity, your character, your appearance could actually go through some pretty big shifts in this time. And the same can be said for the dynamics of your one-to-one relationships. They could change as well. Now, you'll get a clue of it mid-March, and in around September, we'll get the meat and potatoes, and you'll actually see things really come to a head. And I'm talking major endings and major beginnings in this relationship's axis, this self versus other axis. Finally, the energetics of Pisces and Virgo on this self versus other axis is very much about your physical health and your mental health. So there'll be a balancing act in between that, trying to balance a perfect harmony between how you take care of yourself, how the partner is taking care of themselves physically, and also both of your mental health and your psychology, and trying to be as open and loving as possible while not skipping a beat. Virgo wants you to be analytical and pay attention to the details, whilst Pisces does not want to pay attention to the details at all. It really wants to dissolve boundaries and sometimes can be quite idealistic. Now, the final transit I'd like to discuss is Uranus moving into your fourth house of Gemini. Now, for the last 7 years, Uranus has been in your third house of communication, locality, like where you live, your short distance travel, your local area, cafes, parks, that kind of thing as well, your locality. Also, your relationship with siblings, your relationship with your extended family. So there could have been a fair amount of revolution, change, sudden events occur in this area. And as Uranus gets closer and closer to leaving the sign of Taurus, there will be a feeling of stuck. I am stuck in my locality. The situation with my siblings doesn't seem to find resolve, but it will happen, and there will be some drastic, sudden events that change this situation quite radically. And by the time Uranus actually moves into your fourth house of the home and living situation, you will have kind of had a metamorphosis in some way. And I wouldn't be surprised if you've actually moved between now and then, or even very recently, let's say. Now, when it enters the fourth house, there will be some very spontaneous, impulsive change. You may feel that you really do need your independence. In particular, the way you communicate and your intellectual independence. Gemini is very cognizant, and it's about communication. So it could be something to do with language or writing or the way you speak to people in your family, unit, or your living situation. Could change quite dramatically. It's going to give you a clue. It's not only going to be there from, say, July to November. It will retrograde back into this third house for a couple of months. And then in 2026, it'll just be there for the next 7 months. So expect a lot of change in your living situation, a lot of change in your home, and a very active mind. It's very important not to ruminate on things too much while Uranus is in this area of the chart, and make sure that you are communicating effectively inside the home or the living situation. Now, that's my interpretation, Pisces rising. I hope it lands for you. Drop some knowledge. Let me know if you have any questions or feedback. I'm Sukboy. You're awesome. If you would like to book in a session with me, please feel free to. I would love to meet you and read for you. Have a fantastic day. Okay, bye.